Most traders don't lose their accounts in one dramatic moment. There's no explosion, no headline, no single trade they can point to and say, that was it. Instead, it happens quietly. I want you to think about the biggest loss you ever took, the one that actually hurt, the one that sat in your chest and followed you to bed. Now be honest with yourself. Did that trade start as a disaster, or did it start as something small, annoying, manageable, something you thought you could handle? Most traders spend their lives terrified of the big one, the crash, the black swan, the unexpected news event. They think that's what destroys accounts. But statistically, that's not what kills you. The real account killer is silent. It doesn't explode, it rots. It's the small loss you refuse to accept, the stop you move just a little, the trade you give more room because support is almost there, the position you promise yourself you'll close once it gets back to break even. That's how most trading accounts actually die, not by a gunshot, but by 1,000 paper cuts. And the most dangerous part? Every single cut feels harmless when it happens. You tell yourself it's just noise, just volatility, just bad timing. You convince yourself you're being patient, disciplined, professional. But that's not patience. That's ego wearing a calm mask. Here's what actually happens in that moment. You enter a trade. 10 minutes later, price is against you. Nothing dramatic, just red. Your plan says exit. Your rules are clear, but your body reacts before logic ever gets a chance. Your heart rate changes. Your breathing tightens. Your brain lights up the part designed for survival, not decision-making. And suddenly, you're not thinking like a trader anymore. You're thinking like someone trying to avoid pain. This is loss aversion. Your brain experiences the pain of losing money almost twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining the same amount. So it starts negotiating. It's not a real loss yet. It'll come back. Let's just see what happens. That sentence, "It's not a loss until I close it," is one of the most expensive lies in trading. Because the moment price moves against you, that equity is already gone. Holding the trade doesn't protect your money. It just keeps your mind trapped. You're not managing risk anymore. You're managing hope. And hope is not a strategy. Think of a losing trade like a bad tenant in a rental property. They're not paying rent. They're damaging the place. They're draining your energy. But instead of evicting them, you keep telling yourself, maybe next month will be different. It won't. They don't suddenly improve. They just do more damage the longer you avoid the decision. Small ignored losses don't just cost money. They train behavior. They teach you that rules are flexible, that stops are suggestions, that discomfort can be postponed. And every time you get away with it, your brain learns the wrong lesson. Until one day you don't get away with it. Maybe you think psychology doesn't apply to you. Maybe you think you're disciplined enough to handle it. Fine, let's talk math. Because math doesn't care how confident you feel. If you lose 10% of your account, you need about 11% to recover. That's manageable. Lose 20%, you need 25%. Harder, but still possible. Now here's where careers end. If you let that drawdown slide to 50%, you don't need 50% to recover. You need 100%. You need to double your account just to get back to zero. And doubling an account doesn't come from clean, patient execution. It comes from oversized risk, from emotional trades, from leverage, from desperation. By refusing to accept a small loss early, you force yourself into a future where you must trade perfectly just to survive. You turn yourself into a hero when what the market rewards is survival. This is the real trap. Ignoring small losses doesn't make you brave, it makes you fragile. And there's another cost most traders never calculate: opportunity cost. While you're holding one losing trade, you're not free. Your capital is trapped, but worse than that, your attention is trapped. You stare at one chart, you zoom in to lower time frames, you watch every tick, you feel every candle. Meanwhile, clean setups appear elsewhere, and you miss them. Not because they weren't there, but because your mental bandwidth was already maxed out by pain. The cost of that loss wasn't just the money you lost. It was the money you never made because you weren't mentally available. Professional traders understand this deeply. They don't obsess over big losses. They obsess over tiny mistakes because they know big losses are built slowly, decision by decision, while you're telling yourself everything is under control. So here's the pivot. Here's the shift that separates professionals from gamblers. Look at any losing trade you're holding and ask yourself one brutal question. If I had no position right now, would I enter this trade at this price? If the answer is no, you close it immediately. Because if you wouldn't buy it here, you have no logical reason to hold it here. Next, remove future decisions from your stressed self. Every trade needs a hard stop placed in the system. Not mental, not flexible, not emotional, mechanical. Because the version of you who enters a trade is calm. The version of you managing a loss is compromised. And finally, change the meaning of the word loss. A small loss is not failure. It's an operating expense. In any business, you pay costs to gather information. In trading, small losses are the premium you pay to find out the market was wrong for now. That information cost you 1%. That's cheap. What's expensive is pretending the market owes you something. Your job as a trader isn't to be right. It's to stay solvent long enough for probability to work. If you refuse to accept a small loss, the market will eventually force you to accept a catastrophic one. Not because it's unfair, but because that's how this game works. So check your open positions right now. Are you holding a small mistake? Are you waiting, hoping, negotiating? If you are, cut it. Clear the mental debt. Protect your capital. Protect your ability to think. Because the traders who last aren't the ones who avoid losses. They're the ones who never let losses grow roots. If a small loss ever taught you a painful lesson, share it in the comments. And if you're ready to trade like a professional, not a gambler, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.